And it's so good to see all of you. So good. Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? Let's just go around and everybody introduce themselves. So
Back later.
Elaine is here.
Happy to be here in person.
Hi, okay.
Yeah, I feel like we should clap for everybody.
Vivian? Yeah, yeah.
You next.
Vivian.
We're introducing ourselves.
Oh,
I'm Vivian Cohen Koenig.
he
And,
just came in, he just came in.
I love
Yeah.
this shul, and the person who brought me here was
Okay.
Rav Avi.
Can't see her.
Years ago, that
Vivian.
was, but,
So
We can't see him speaking.
Vivian is speaking, Ruby.
Okay, but I'm saying we can't see you.
Recognized her voice.
Anybody, as much as I can, and I derive some pleasure out of it each time. I said, Torat Ahavah, I made something loving, something caring, and maybe if if the world were filled with more people like that, with caring and with loving and doing things in a positive way, it would be a whole different world. We have such a world that is so mean and angry and all that, and that's all there is, and it's very disturbing after a while, and but then it's refreshing. Torat Ahavah, wow, a loving Torah, and caring and loving each other. So that's why I'm here, and I acclaim Rav Avi for bringing this to us and making it so significant and so important in our lives. Thank you, Rav Avi.
Hi, I'm Bert Nussbacher. How are you? Good to
Heard
see
in person, wow.
Wow, I don't know if I remember what he looked like.
you. Well, I'll tell you, it's pretty amazing. And, it's what I find truly great is that I'm so used to seeing everybody two-dimensionally, on a flat screen. It's so good to see some people really alive, and, as opposed to, on a flat screen.
Mhm.
It really is different.
And a little box.
And I try to tell somebody else. It's one of the unfortunate things, about COVID. There's lots of unfortunate things, but that I think that we've become too accustomed to doing things remotely, and and I understand that some people are in Florida and some people are wherever, and it's hard to get out. I find it somewhat hard to get out too, but nevertheless, it's so refreshing to see people in person.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Judy.
Yeah, great to see everyone. Who is that who just said hi? Anne?
There's Anne
Anne.
Ornberg, there's Ellen Scheinbach, you see Estelle,
Hi,
Ruby.
Ruby.
Hi there. Hi, Judy.
Hi, Estelle. Great to see you. Great to be learning with you. It's great that we're all learning together with Rav Avi today. My name is Judy Frank. That's how Rav Avi first knew me, Stieglitz. And I go back way long with Rav Avi. And it's because of him, I took my first trip to Israel in 1971. He and Toby were my group leaders then. And there I learned from Rav Avi Ahavat Torah, Ahavat Haaretz, Ahavat Am Yisrael, Ahavat Ahavah. So I'm just only very delighted to be learning in person with you all today and to be here. Thank you all, and thank you, Rav Avi.
Look.
Arnie.
Oh,
Yay, Arnie.
Yay.
yeah.
So good to see all of you.
It's so good to see you.
How are you, Arnie? I really wish we were there in person.
I wish so.
Right.
I'm doing well. I have a long way to go in rehab, but I'm walking upright for the first time in years. So all
Wow.
yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Great.
And with all due respect, I know there's a lot of harshness in the world, but being vulnerable as I was and being so dependent on the help of others, there's a lot of beautiful people. And furthermore, there's a lot of people who you can access the beauty if you just try, you know? So I see a lot more rosy stuff, I guess.
Good.
That's me. What can I say? Anyway, I hope to see you guys in person soon.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
I wish I were there to give you a hug.
I would love that.
This is, we
No,
are all
Julie did
hugging
it
you.
for me.
We're all
Right,
hugging you,
right,
Arnie,
we are.
just
We
by
are.
Thank you.
telepathy.
You know, it was the good wishes of all of you that helped get me through.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm really so pleased to see you again.
Yeah. And thank God you look
You're
very
doing
well.
well.
You
Yeah.
look very well.
Are you home now, Arnie?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I've been home
That's
for
so
about 2
great.
weeks. Yeah, it's all good.
Good. There's Rita.
Hi. Hi.
Hi, Rita.
Hi, Rita. Good to see you.
Yeah. It's good to see you guys.
Thank you.
Looking forward to in person.
Good morning, everybody. Fern Penn here.
Hi.
Hi, good morning. Good morning.
This is an opportunity
Hi, friend.
here in person with Rav Avi and everybody here. And it's just wonderful to just be here today. And my day is not finished because from here, I'll be doing the knitting for the soldiers and the babies at 1 o'clock at the Bayit. So the day is a full day at the Bayit, which I'm grateful for. So nice to see everybody.
Do you guys want to say hi to the people?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Good morning.
Morning. Rabbi Weiss is here.
So if you guys on Zoom know Mark and Lori, who are our regulars, they come all the time. They keep our shul going pretty much.
What part of Florida you're from?
We're
Oh,
not from, I'm in Delray Beach.
Oh, Delaware
What
Beach.
beach?
I'm in Deerfield Beach, just for a short while, just for a short while.
Ruby, I
Yeah,
didn't.
but you extended it. Come on.
Yeah, but
I did
not till the middle of April, and then I'll be back.
Great.
Okay, good.
So it'll be Passover. You could come for Passover. then.
Passover.
That's it. I'll be back for Passover.
Hold on. Later.
Not Passover, not coming. Too late.
Give this,
Coming for
to show
Passover.
everybody what it is
Okay.
that they do.
Yeah.
Show it around.
So if you put the computer down.
Yeah. I don't,
Oh, no. Wait,
no, no.
no.
Don't slip.
Yeah.
Don't slow down. I'm there.
So I just want to.
Wait, we don't need so many copies.
Sorry.
We'll just do them one at a time.
That's why I came today.
So nice to see you
He told us.
in person.
All right, so then we should turn around. Sorry,
To go.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it so much.
It's an example of
Rabbi, are you gonna speak? Are you gonna?
So I had this.
One for
that,
Are you gonna
we
give?
started here in West Hempstead and here in Riverdale.
Thank you.
When Gloria
Well, whenever all of you are back, I have for you also here.
Years ago.
We have
And the first year she
this
Oh, wow.
set for you.
sort of.
So you'll have to let us know when you're back. And Tova, I think the rabbi hopes to bring to you next time he's in the city.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Um.
So we just handed out a copy to everyone here. Oh, by the way, I was at the Yeshiva University Sfarim sale. Every year they have this sale, and I saw it there, and I was so excited.
Did anybody buy?
Not while I was there, but
I'm sorry.
yeah, not while I was there, but I was only there for a short time. So,
I think now we need more and more loving.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Do you want to give a few minutes? Do you want to have a little hello to the Zoom, and then we'll say goodbye to the Zoom and we'll just sign in person?
No, I'd like the Zoom to stay on.
Oh,
Or
okay.
whoever
Oh,
wants.
goody.
Um,
Here.
You know how
Okay,
much it
I'm gonna mute.
Before we're on
how much
mute.
it costs?
We're on mute. Julie,
We're not on mute.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you for zooming in. Estelle, you're in Riverdale, right?
Yes, I am.
So I have to get the books over to you, which I will.
Yeah.
God willing. And
God
Ellen,
willing.
you're in Florida. And Tova will connect. And Robert, where are you? Robert?
He's muted.
Yeah,
And,
he's muted.
and where are you? And maybe I'm
She's muted too. And you're muted.
I'm sorry, I'm on a bus.
oh,
On a bus.
you don't have
I'm
better things
in
to do than to listen
Montreal,
to us.
always.
You know what my kids would tell me, Abba, get a life.
Oh, thank God.
So, hi Debbie. Debbie's the real hero. What I'd like to do is just, I'll do the best I can to make sure everybody who's on Zoom is involved. And this is really a joyous time for me in the midst of breaking the glass because there's such darkness in Israel. As a matter of fact, unfortunately, a dear friend of mine and many of us is Rabbi Dov Linzer. I think since Rabbi Soloveitchik, I've never met anyone with the Talmudic expertise that he has. Quite phenomenal. All of the teachers, Rabbi Jeff, Rabbi Sussler, they're all great. Hi. And but unfortunately, his sister Varda, I don't think you know her, Judy, because she went to Stern. She was once a student. Linzer, Varda Linzer, and she has 6 children, I believe, but her 22-year-old was in the army and was critically injured, and he succumbed. And so the funeral was this morning, and it's heart-wrenching. It's just heart-wrenching. So I was up at 4 a.m. I just wanted to make sure to see the funeral. But you know, part of the power of Am Yisrael is that as dark a time as it is, this is a remarkable time. It's not a time when we're studying history, but we're living history. This is history. And I believe it will be so recorded in history that this is an historical moment. Just to put it in perspective, when the state of Israel was established, one of its reasons, a foundational reason, was to make sure that with a state and with an army, we had the power to defend our people. That's why one of the first laws that was passed in the Knesset was what's called the Chok HaShavut, the law of return, which said that any Jew can claim immediate citizenship stepping for the first time into Israel. That was called the Chok HaShavut. And Israel was very criticized that that law is a racist law. Jews receive immediate citizenship. Why is it that others do not? And yet, the way I look at it is that that was one of the most profound religious statements for Israel to make. Israel was born 3 years after the Shoah, and that was a time when, from 1933 to 1941, the mass killing machine had not yet started. And Hitler, Yamach Shemo v'Zichro, was prepared to allow Jews to leave. There was only one problem, and that is
No place to
if you accept us. Even here in the United States of America, even here, America did not reach its immigration quotas, let alone go beyond those quotas. The only place and entity that was ready to accept Jews was the Jewish leadership in Palestine. And think about it. Great Britain in 1939, this is on the eve of when the killing started, they introduced the white paper, which blocks entry of Jews into what became Israel. Think about that. Just an outrage. Just anecdotally on the side, I heard Norman Finkelstein, who was really, I don't say this about many people, but he's really a Russia. Just really one of a Jew who's just lost his way. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he makes the rounds, and he was trying to say, well, the Palestinians are no worse than the Jews. Nobody wants the Palestinians, and nobody wanted the Jews. And I was ready just to smash the TV and say, wait a minute, there are 22 Arab countries out there that could welcome the Palestinians. It wasn't that the Jewish people didn't want to welcome Jews. We would have been welcomed with open arms. And so the Chok HaShvut was, just going back to what I had said, the Chok HaShvut I view as one of the most religious statements because it was saying to the world and to Jews that never again will you have nowhere to go. There will always be a place for you. And that was in response to those years of World War II in the 30s and early 40s when lives could have been saved, many lives could have been saved, but it was not to
Who
be.
was responsible? for
Speak
that? Would that
speak
been
very,
Gordon?
very loud. So
I'm sorry. Who was responsible for the for this for this brilliant idea?
the Chok HaShvut,
Yeah. In other words, whose idea was it? Somebody had to have thought of it.
I don't know.
I assume it was might have been Ben Gurion, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
I don't know who in particular, but I don't know. I've not researched it, but I'd like to think that it just came from the wellspring of what the state is all about. Now, Israel is much, much more than only a place of refuge, because if that's what it is, then the state becomes a state which is reactive. That is, it's only a place to make sure that if we are subjected to anti-Semitism or pogroms, we have a place to go. And if our state is only there to react, as I've mentioned many times, nothing reactive endures. It has to be transformed from a reaction, from something which is reactive to something which is proactive. I'll give you a very small example. It's no secret that Chovevei Torah came into being as a reaction to what many felt was the rightward movement of Yeshiva University. And in that sense, it was a reaction. There are very few new ideas that do not start as reaction. New ideas are ideas that come about because there is a need, and it is in response to the need that something new is created. But if Chovevei Torah, and for that matter, Maharat, if it remains a reaction, if it only identifies itself by Yeshiva University, it could not have endured. It had to move from a reaction into being something which was very, very proactive. On some level, the Bayit that started in the Whitehall building, it had some success in the beginning because it was a reaction, frankly, to the RJC, which was a certain kind of shul that a lot of young people were struggling with, even though they had great leadership in Rabbi Yitz Greenberg and Blue, but by the time I came, they had already left. But that's not what the Bayit is about. The Bayit has its own proactive agenda now being led by, I think, by a rabbi who on everyone's list, anyone who knows the rabbinate very well would say that Stephen Exler is one of the top 5 synagogue rabbis in the country. I think everyone across the denominations would say that. I would say he's the best, but everybody has their own taste. But he certainly is, it turned into something which is proactive. And that's what the Chok HaShvut was about. And it said it'll never happen again because we have a state, we have sovereignty, and we have an army. We have a very strong army. And so what happened to Jews throughout the millennia when there were pogroms and we were stateless for 2,000 years and we had no army and we were powerless, we had no way to fight back. Now we do, so it could never, ever happen here. Never. And it did. And I'd like to argue the way I would shape it is that for 2 days, on October 7th and on October 8th, you speak to the survivors from those kibbutzim, they'll tell all of us that they kept asking, where's the army? Where's the army? It was almost as if for 2 days, there was no army. There was no state. We got a taste of what it was in the 2,000 years when we were in exile. That's what happened on those 2 days. And one day there will be a reckoning. How could that have ever happened? I'm one of those who believes the reckoning should not take place now when we're in the midst of a very, very serious war. But of course, there is a big difference. And that is, this was a serious bump. But today, Israel is a state. And we have an army, and it's a strong army, and it's an ethical army. And it's going to be, and it is a winning army. And so, and an army we should all be very proud of. I don't know if I told you this, that recently there's been research done that when Truman decided to drop the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, he knew that Japanese civilians would be jeopardized. So I don't know if you saw most recently, there's been discoveries that America built corridors and they built cheap hotels very, very quickly so that Japanese citizenry could escape through these corridors and they would have a safe haven. In fact, there's now been research that has shown that before America attacked Berlin, America was very concerned about German citizenry, even though most of the attacks came from Russia, that America was so concerned about civilian life that they built corridors and cheap hotels to save German citizenry. Now, if you believe what I just told you, I'll sell you the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah.
And here, when I read this, I thought this would be great for a Johnny Carson monologue. Here we're fighting Hamas. We don't know who is Hamas and who's not Hamas. And too many of the citizenry, they support Hamas. And Israel announces, we're going to build corridors and we're going to build tent cities for 1 million Palestinians of Gaza, so that when we go into Rafah, there'll be as few civilian casualties as possible. A Yiddish pup. I mean, has there ever been an army ever that has fought this way? Not the British, not the French, and I'm talking about democracies, and not the Americans. What was the civilian casualty loss when we went into Afghanistan? The ratio of losses of citizenry in Gaza to terrorists is 1.5 to 1. It's the smallest ratio by far of any war. The average ratio is 9 to 1. This was 1.5 to 1. And it's, in the end, it's caused a lot of Jewish lives.
Right.
So notwithstanding what we read in the newspapers, and with all due respect to Biden, I just, whoa. And not that Trump is anything to, I mean, he's a complete mashigana, and you never know what he's going to do. You just don't know. But Biden too, it's very, very disturbing to talk about a Palestinian state now. I'm all for a two-state solution if there's somebody to talk to. If they had a Martin Luther King, if they had a Gandhi leading them, they would have had a state a long time ago.
They wouldn't have had
But
a
to
Congress.
respond now to a Palestinian state sends a message
And they're not
that you
interested.
can do what they did and you're going to get a state. And we're going to have on our borders, right in the belly of Israel, we're going to have Hamas. So this is a dark time for Israel, but it's a remarkable time. You know, there's always been a lot of mention how come our community is not united and doing the way we did during the Soviet Jewry movement? I think we're seeing that now. I find that our community, as one who was involved with the Soviet Jewry movement with millions of others, I find that we are more united and more giving, more doing for Israel as a people than during the Soviet Jewry movement. It is a remarkable time. Everyone feeling that they're in the army, maybe not wearing the green fatigues, even doing what you'll be doing today, Fern. It's very important. Doing what Shuli did when Shuli traveled to Israel for a day or two. It's all good. It's all wonderful. Yes, Vivian? You have to speak very loud, so.
With a large group from Teaneck, New Jersey.
Yes.
Hundreds of people that went there, and they are currently in Israel and supporting all the Chayalim and all the places, and they're going to build a tent like a shul and contribute a Sefer Torah that had been written over the 7 years, and contribute that to the army in Gaza, and set that up for them. And they're currently there for a period of several weeks, and spending time just showing that they love Israel and they're supporting their lives. And I
Yes.
have to
Vivian, yes, Rita.
Yeah, well,
Just try to speak up so everybody can hear you.
We have in the atrium now, every Friday night, we and even Shabbos afternoon, but like especially Friday night, we light candles together. We sing
Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, we hear Kiddush, and we end with, this is what I wanted to say, we end with Hatikva. And it's so intense. You feel that, that feeling there.
Great.
And how much did we come?
Anybody? Thank you, Rita.
Yes.
Anybody? Arnie, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I have a question for you. So Thinking back to the 6-Day War, and at that time, there was an outpouring of non-religious Jewish people supporting Israel. Secular Jews came out and donated money and contributed greatly. Now it seems that young people in large numbers, frighteningly large numbers, who are secular Jews are at best indifferent to Israel. And to me, this presents a problem for the future. There are counterbalances that I see, good things that are happening, especially in the religious community. But I'm wondering what your thoughts are about that.
Does anybody want to? That's a great question.
It's a lovely group organized by 2 high school students run for their lives on Sunday morning.
Yes.
And they walk from Seton Park to the monument.
Right.
It's very nice. It's lovely.
It's beautiful. And
They-
it's
but they-
mostly
from,
students.
No, there's 2 students, high school students.
A Heschel student and a LaFell student.
Right.
But the community, like about, I was there and I'd say they have 80, 100 people marching. It just started-
800.
Just started a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's mostly from SAR.
They're doing
That's
this.
so
No, not
nice.
SAR.
No.
So it's Heschel.
Every Sunday morning.
Right. No, I Arnie, first, it's not monolithic. That is to say, there is a segment that doesn't get it. But there are large swaths of Jews who do get it and are very, very supportive. But there is in the very left world, and we have problems in the very right world as well, serious problems. There is what's called intersectionality. Intersectionality means that you lump together all those who are considered to be victims. Anyone who's a victim is in that group. And at this point, at this point, the Palestinians are considered the ultimate case of victimhood. And so blacks, for example, are blacks brothers and sisters who see themselves as victims, and indeed they were victimized for a very long time. They ally themselves very closely with the Palestinian cause. There, I think it's not just a fringe. I'm deeply disappointed that Black leadership has not stood up with us. And of course, our own Richie Torres, who is Hispanic, but I call Richie Torres, I've renamed him. I call him Richie Torah. He says it very, very well. I support Israel, not despite being a progressive, but because I am a progressive. Who else would be in that group of victims? The LGBT community, women rights organizations. And there's something wrong with that. If you are a victim of colonialism, and Israel today is considered to be a how do you pronounce it? However you pronounce it, state. We are the usurpers. I mean, when in fact, we were in Israel way before Muslim world was birthed. So it's really the other way around. So in that world, Arnie, it takes a lot of guts to stand up and say, I'm not standing with you. Because if you stand up on campus to these groups, they'll tell you, we want to have nothing to do with you. If you continue standing up for Israel against the Palestinians, not only do we disagree with you on that, intersectionality says, we don't want to have anything to do with you, and we don't want your support on LGBT issues, on feminist issues, on racist issues. That's what I think has happened. And I think that requires people with a a lot of backbone to be able to stand up. It's easy to stand up when it's the popular thing to do. But when it's the right thing to do, even if it's not popular, that takes much more strength. And we have to do as much as we can to get the word out there that that Israel is a glorious, remarkable country. Just think about the fate of of LGBT in Gaza. Just think about that. Think about that for a moment. Look at the way it's one thing to fight, excuse me, man to man. I don't mean that sexist, but it's one thing to fight man to man. But to go and decapitate and rape cadavers, and where were the women's organizations? You know, the slogan was, you know what the slogan was after,
Believe all women.
I'm sorry?
You're saying believe all women from the UN?
Yeah, I'm talking about that. It was Me Too, except if you're a Jew. Me Too, except if you're a Jew. And that's something we have to stand up with.
Excuse me, Avi,
Yes, yes.
Avi, I think what we don't like to acknowledge and what the world certainly does not acknowledge, that Israel right now is fighting for her existence. Remember, on October 7th and 8th, part of Israel was occupied.
Yes.
And in the north, now, when there was compulsory evacuation, there is part of Israel that is not occupied by Jews. Jews cannot live there. And so it was given up without boots on the ground, but it was given up. We are fighting now for the existence of the
What happened
state of
initially?
Israel.
That was Tova Beulah.
Yes.
Tova, sorry, we lost the connection.
Talking about part of the North.
We gave it up.
Yes, but this compulsory evacuation, because nobody can live there with what was being thrown into there,
Right.
We gave that up. And if Jews can't live there, then it's not a viable part of Israel.
But it's only
on the ground.
temporary.
So Israel now is really, no matter what they say and no matter what they're trying to do, the world has to acknowledge that Israel right now is fighting for her existence.
I agree. And also from the south, of course, we were staying on Emek Rifaim during the months we were in Israel, and we're near the Orient Hotel. So for the first month, the hotel was closed. But starting in the second month, a kibbutz from down south, 1,000 people came into that hotel. You go to the Dead Sea and you're going to see all the kibbutzniks, over 1,000 people from Kibbutz Sad, the whole south emptied out. And so to reinforce what my dear Tova said, the south too, now they're trickling back down south. Up north, I think it remains to be seen. Our eldest grandson, who was a reservnik, who was in Gaza, thank God he's out, but he was told that in 2 months from now, they may be calling him back because it's then that they're going to turn around and they may have to go north. If Hezbollah is not going to withdraw to the Litani, and so there'll be at least a 15-kilometer buffer zone, Israel's going to have no choice. That's the only way, as Tova said, that the residents are going to return to Metula and to Kiryat Shmona and to all of those cities. But coming back to my little world, this book, you know, they say, "A Mensch tracht und Gott lacht." You know, we think, we have plans, and so finally this thing came out, and I think I'm not far off, but I think that the grand opening of this book was supposed to be on October 9th or something, October 8th. Might as well have been on October 7th. So this has had a real shalom aleichem, to put it mildly. And so I want to say something about these books. First, with the help of my dear friend Danny Perla, Danny bought 100 sets to be distributed. And I told Danny, it's supposed to be distributed to every bar and mitzvah and convert and every wedding. I said, Danny, first on the list, my Tuesday morning class. And so Danny said, whatever we want. So Danny bought 100, and I think the sales are up now. I think with Danny, we've sold about 102 sets. Yeah, I'm very proud that this is now the 7th book that I've been involved with. And, my writing is my love. I don't write to be read. If that's why I wrote, I wouldn't write. I write because I have a need to write. And I want to encourage all of you to write. Judy, you have so much to say. Just, you're a profile in courage. You should write, Judy. I want to bless you. Arnie, Debbie, you should write. Everyone. Fern, you all have something to say. Don't be afraid to write. Don't worry about the grammar and the penmanship. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. Just, I hope you feel the need to, everybody can express themselves. And, but from the beginning, from the first book, I really resolved I would never take a personal penny for any book. And I'm very proud of that I never have done that. I feel that the Bayit has been so good to me. They've taken care of Toby and myself. There's no need for me to bother with that. In fact, started a whole movement that rabbis should not take money for funerals, God forbid, or for weddings. Just, it shouldn't be that way. And so, thank God we set up a discretionary account. So whatever money comes in, it goes to the account. And that account is used for people in need, or it's also used to allow me to continue to write. So the first book I was involved in was called Women at Prayer. It was a defense of women's prayer groups. And I told Rav Stephen, I saw what happened this Shabbat morning, which has taken women's prayer groups to another level because it's now in the main sanctuary. I said, Rav Stephen, when I wrote my book, we were in the Stone Age, literally. And now you've taken it to another level, and for me, it's glorious. Keep growing, keep having it grow like that. It brings so much nachas to me. That book actually did very well, not because of the writing, but because of the topic. And it probably, I think, sold, I'm told, 8,000 copies, which for a book like that, let's put it this way, when I told Bernie Schofstein, the publisher, Katav, I said, it's Rosh Hashanah, I want to present the book to our kids. So he said, it won't be ready. I said, Bernie, do what you can do. It's my family. And he hand bound 2 copies. And I gave it out at the family. And one of my kids, I won't tell you who, looks at the book. This is now 10 years of work. Written also all kinds of activist places. I would take my notes to Austria, to Italy, to Turkey. And one goes like this, just like this, shuffling through it, just like this. And I'm, what's going on? She looks up and she says, Abba, boring.
Oh, my goodness.
That was that. I guess that wasn't Dove. Dove wouldn't have said. Anyway, and the second book was a book of love called Spiritual Activism. And it's a book about a certain style of leadership, leading from the outside. And actually, Shuli, the best publisher, I think, published that book. It was published by Jewish Lights. Unfortunately, they went out of business. It was centered about one personality, and you know, it's just. And then I didn't write for a while, and in about 2010, we published two books, one on top of the other. And by this time, I wasn't writing without Julie's help because I don't type. And not only does Julie type everything, but Julie's become an expert editor and advisor, and words count. Words have different levels of weight, and I'm forever grateful. So, Holistic Prayer is actually my favorite book. That's my favorite book. It's a book about spirituality, bringing spirituality into prayer and into our lives. That was, and then there was another book that fell flat. It's called Open Up the Iron Door. It's a memoir on the Soviet Jewry movement, and I made up my mind when writing it I would not name people with whom I may have disagreed with, and that there was a critical pushback on that I wasn't revealing secrets and I wasn't open enough. But I don't think there's any need to make a point about how the movement evolved. No need to mention names of people who I feel made mistakes. I made so many mistakes. I made many mistakes when you're involved in that kind of movement. And then a book that probably took me the longest to write, and that was Journey to Open Orthodoxy. And it's actually my theology, but it wasn't, I don't think it was packaged properly. I just had to get it out of my system that everybody was, you know, I don't know if you know this, but there was a time when, you know, I was excommunicated by the right wing in writing, or the
You were on
shuls,
television with that again.
yeah, and but I may reshape that book, and I think I want to write a book called Judaism: A Theology of Love. And then came this book, and I wanted it in 5 volumes, and I didn't want it to be a Parsha book, even though it's organized by the Parshiot. It's really a thematic commentary on the Torah. It's not sentence by sentence, but each Parsha has at least 5 thematic concepts of the Torah. I'll take a look at one of them from this week. So if you take out the book of Exodus, and we'll just read one, and for those who are on Zoom, please, if this is boring because you don't have the book, don't hesitate to just click me off, do what you have to do. So Tetzaveh, Julie, maybe, I don't know if you can put it up on here. Tetzaveh is about the priestly garments. So all I want to do is, without explicating, because I would like to think that each of these themes, page 99, and I do want to thank Edith. Edith read through all 5 volumes and made some very important suggestions. And one in particular, the publisher has told me, saved the book, where you noticed, Edith, that I was going back and forth, especially in identifying different personalities. So I thank you for reading through, and Edith also is an accomplished writer, so I thank you very much. So let's take it from 99, where
I'm gonna get there in a second if you want to tell.
it's in the 2nd volume, Shmot. And Fern, do you want to? Who's got a loud voice? Fern, you can do it.
Garments reveal and conceal. Much attention is given in the Torah to describe the garments of the high priest. He gave this to me because of the fashion component.
Yes.
While garments we wear.
Well, this is because you're going to be knitting garments.
Oh, I'm going there too.
While garments we wear can reflect who we are, they can also serve to hide our true personality.
Right. Oh, look, I gained a little weight. I wear sweaters now. try to
Oh, that's an
hide it.
interesting
And Toby says it's not going to help you. Toby's lost 55 pounds, so she looks like a movie star, but she always did to me. But so, but they say, what's the expression? Clothes make
Or the woman, yeah, just-
or the woman.
They say the
Yeah,
man.
but clothes can also hide who we are. That's the point. While garments we wear can reflect who we are, they can also serve to hide our true personalities.
Julie Black.
It's saying something very different. Go ahead, perhaps.
Perhaps it is not a coincidence that the word beged, clothing, can also be pronounced bagad.
That's
Trail.
amazing, I must say. Did you know that? I'm sure you knew it. You know everything, Bert. But the word beged, which means clothing, bet gimel dalid,
Yes,
if you just vowelize it, vocalize it differently,
it's like
it's
that.
bagad.
Yeah.
The very word for
Thank you.
clothes, that very word, every letter in the right order. At my age, ayin, aleph doesn't make a difference.
Oh,
Spelling it frontwards, backwards, it's all the same to me, to make a drasha. Here, this is no game. This is straight. Bet gimel dalid. Beged. It's also bagad, the gida, which means a betrayal. Colloquially, it is said that clothes makes the man. I couldn't change that because that's the expression, but here I could change it. But clothes can also hide the person. Notice I didn't say it hides the man, it hides the person. So I didn't want to touch, the motto, but yes, Judy.
In the word begod and is also begod, and God is like telling. So it's like telling you, it's not just betrayal. It's both.
Yes.
It's a dual.
Bert, you want to give me the second paragraph? Language.
Language has been noted by many great thinkers, follows a similar pattern.
Now that is a big leap. That requires just the approach to writing this book was to write in a pithy, in a concise manner. So actually, if I would have really elaborated on this piece here that we're going to read, that is only about 350 words long, would have taken 800 words. But the concept is to write a sentence that it really requires study. Also, let me add that I decided that there'd be no footnotes in this book. I've done my share of footnotes. I didn't want any footnotes. We have in parenthesis some sources, and I'm also very, very grateful to Rabbi Tzvi Rohn, who I found and now has become a dear friend, who went over the book line by line, told me when I was too radical and suggested I kind of tone it down, or shared with me when he felt he had a different reading of the text. I'm very grateful. And he also was able to pinpoint sources, because there's some ideas that come into the head. Even if I think it's mine, it's not mine. And it was very, very important. I have found out that most very good ideas are not my ideas. It's been said, like this idea of Beged and Bogad. I was so excited by it. I think I said it to somebody. It's been said so many times. Okay, it's been said so many times, I'm sure. But this idea that the association between language and clothes, what is that now? There's a lot that's been written about that. The great Bialik wrote about it. Steinsaltz wrote about it. Some fancy contemporary philosophers have written about it. Now, the relationship between the two is, as you just read, Bert, words are the garments that mirror our inner feelings, our inner emotions, right? Words are garments. So I feel something, and with words, I wish to express it. The words are kind of the externality of what's happening inside of us, just like clothes is external. And on some way, it it reflects who we are inside the clothes. So let's take it from the beginning of that paragraph. Language.
Language, as been noted by many great thinkers, follows a similar pattern. Words are the garments that mirror our inner feelings, our inner emotions. But words, like garments, have their limitations.
I see. That's what we're drawing here. We're saying, wait a minute. If there's a relationship between words and garments, well, we've just said that garments may reveal, but it also can conceal. It may express who we are, but it may hide who we are, just as words. Words may express what we mean, but by definition, words are finite. It may be limitative. Debbie, you're a teacher of history, right?
I'm a reading specialist.
A reading specialist. So I'm sure you saw that over and over, where, you know, our kids, when they were younger, they used to say, I lost my word. I lost my
And
word.
when you're older, you do too.
And when we're, and you know, we lose our words. I identify with that now. But even when we use words, we sometimes have lost our words. It's not often the word
That you want, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, for example, what I feel towards, let's say, Hamas, I can't describe that in words. On the other end of the spectrum, the love that I feel for people, to my family, everyone here, sometimes there's a love that's so deep, it just can't be described. Whatever is being said, it's not enough. I mean, silence is not a good thing to always be in a relationship, but sometimes in love, just being with someone in silence has its power because it goes beyond words. And so that's why language, as has been noted by many thinkers, follows a similar pattern. Words are the garments that mirror our inner feelings, our inner emotions. But words, like garments, have their limitations. Now comes a Hasidic teaching, which reads, Elaine, do you want to take that? A Hasidic
observation notes that the Aleph, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, marks the beginning of articulation of speech.
Now, a lot can be said about that because Aleph, standing on its own, is really a silent letter. What makes the sound are the vowels beneath it. But still, Aleph is the first letter of the alphabet. So it's the beginning of articulation. Now, what follows Aleph? Bet, and then Gimel, and then, now it doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah.
As you begin articulation, we right away say, wait a minute, Bet Gimel Daled, which spells Beged, or it spells Bagad. So here we're articulating and we're saying, you're articulating, but on a certain level, you're hiding. The word hides. Go on. It's followed.
They also talk about why the Torah begins with a bed.
Yeah.
There's a whole discussion.
Oh, yeah. You name it, they discuss it. Elaine, go on. It is followed
by three letters, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, which together spell Bagad. This teaches that speech is not a conduit through which one can express his or her thoughts fully. A level of concealment always remains.
There's always concealment in speech. Words can limit. We want to express ourselves, but by definition, words have their limits. And then we quote Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz. Agnes, do you want to take that? Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz.
Yes.
Go ahead. You're the reader.
Oh, I'm reading. I can't. I have.
You do very beautifully.
Rabbi Dean Stone.
You're doing great.
In his book Talks on the Parsha, notes, speech is the garment of thought, expressing the thought even as it veils its deeper dimensions.
That's a beautiful quote. Look at that quote. Now one can look at that for a long time. Speech What does he call it? The garment of thought. There you see the connection. Speech is a garment expressing the thought. Speech expresses, even as it what veils. What is it? It veils. It covers the deeper dimension, just like clothes. Clothes reveals, but conceals. And Ludwig Wittgenstein, don't think that I knew who this guy was, but I don't remember, but I'm sure my son gave me this. He says, "Oh, why don't you quote Wittgenstein?" It's like I'm quoting Mickey Mantle here. Who the hell's Wittgenstein? All right, so we want to sound smart. And Ludwig Wittgenstein, the 20th century Austrian philosopher, in his Yada 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 adds, now this is his quote, but I love this quote. Language disguises the thought so that from the external form of the clothes, one cannot infer the form of the thought they clothe, because the external form of the clothes is constructed with quite another object than to let the form of the body be recognized. Now, in a certain sense, when you read that through, it's a lot of Yui, but he's saying it here. He's talking like a philosopher. I mean, as I get older, I like simple. My writing is very simple. Just tell it to me the
Except
way
when
it
you
is.
quote philosophers.
Sorry?
Except when you quote philosophers.
Yeah, this is in quotes. It ain't mine. So here now, I want to try to clinch it. Do you want to take it? One would imagine.
One would imagine.
Thank you,
That
Ruth.
the greater the eloquence of an individual, the greater the ability to articulate.
Right. So you would think that the Robert Frosts, what book does Toby read? The Pattersons, or I don't know if that's a good, or Cynthia Ozick, or my sister for that matter, who was really a genius writer. I mean, you got to read her last piece. You can get it online. It was published in Harper's. You got to be ready when you read it, though. You got to be ready. This one is called Busha Bisha, or something like that, about some Haredi rabbi who became went trans and is in Mea Shearim and Borough Park. So yeah, Tova is a fiction writer, but she's a satirist. And when you satire, you're commenting on the world today, but you take something to its extreme. And in the extreme, you see, hey, wait a minute, something's going. Tova's most controversial work is called My Holocaust. And it's how the Holocaust was being used by too many people inappropriately. My Holocaust. Everything is my Holocaust. So she's got scenes in there where there was a Holocaust because people are killing whales. That's a Holocaust. There's a Holocaust of young women who suddenly she has an imagination, women who start menstruating. Oh, that's a Holocaust. Like, we have to deal with all of this. Everything is in fact, she has a scene. I don't know if you'll appreciate this because it's a very controversial work. There's a scene in there where they're trying to get money out of a couple to donate it to the Holocaust Museum. So they take them to Auschwitz. Of course, they won't take them during the winter. There's too much mud on the ground, so you can only take them. She goes into this only during the summer, and they're in Auschwitz and get out of their stretch limousines, and they get out and they look at the cattle car. And I don't know if you're appreciating this, but as one who has fought against misuse of Holocaust, sometimes in life you got to laugh a little bit. If you don't laugh, you can't live. So they get out of the car. This never happened, but the head of the museum says, "Look at that cattle cart." And by the way, the name, I think, of the couple was Irving and Dinah, I think Bacon. So they get out of the car and he says, "Could you imagine the Irving and Diana Bacon cattle cart right there in the museum? $5 million, that'll do it."
Oh.
I said, maybe. And as he walks out, he turns around and he says, I got a better idea. $6 million, 6 million. That's a better number. It's a better number. All right. I don't know how I got into that, but
Rabbi, but you read your sister's book.
I do. They're very dense, but I carry her books with me. Her short stories are a little bit easier, but
What's her last name?
they're very funny. They can really make you.
What's her last name?
I mean, there's a story she wrote that came out in her. I'm off the topic, but there's a story she wrote that came out in her recent short story book about, she went to Haredi yeshivot and doesn't think much of them, but it's a story about a Haredi rabbi who was overseeing a school of about 300 girls, and they take him on a Lag BaOmer hike, and one kid is missing. And it becomes a very big story in the New York Times. Sam Roberts is involved, and where's this youngster? They can't find him. Maybe you didn't have proper security. Maybe you didn't have proper supervision. And the rabbi, who must have been somebody who Tova met in her youth, wants to make friends with the New York Times reporter, starts calling him Shmuley. He's not Sam anymore. He's Shmuley. And he's pushing him. And he says, finally, I think the scene that the New York Times reported is that the head of the school says, look, Shmuley, we have 305 students in the school. We took all 305 out on a trip. 304 came back. What's the percentage? It's like 99%. On any test, that's a good percentage. Still. One would imagine that the greater the eloquence of an individual, the greater the ability to articulate thoughts. That's how we got into it. If you've got the gift of language, the Israeli, look at this. I'm so grateful I found this. The Israeli poet and writer, Chaim Nachman Bialik, no slouch, a master of language with perhaps no equal in his essay, Cedars of Lebanon, Revealment and Concealment of Language, look at that, suggests that no matter one's gift of language, this is Bialik, words veil as much as they display. The inner thought on some level always remains hidden. Now, these are his words. The matter is clear. This is Bialik. Language in all of its facets does not allow us to enter its inner chambers to get at the very essence of the idea or feeling. The reverse is the case. Words themselves are barriers concealing what we wish to express. Now, coming from anyone, okay, this is Chaim Nachman Bialik, who also had a very big wit. He was the one who wrote, he took all the rabbis' midrashim. So I'll tell you something a little off color. You've never heard an off color joke from me? Here's my off color joke. The Gemara says that one who is intimate and has relations with his wife to be before they're married is like a person who on the eve of the Seder eats matzah before the Seder. That's what he says. You're not supposed to eat matzah the day of the Seder.
That.
You're not supposed to. He says if you eat matzah before the Seder, it's like having relations with your wife or husband before you're married. And so Bialik, in his book, he said, I've tried them both and there's no comparison. He's had a great sense of humor. I've tried them both and there's no comparison. You never heard that, did you? No, you did. So here, last paragraph. Throughout the millennia, beautiful thoughts have been expressed about the symbolism. You can't imagine what's been written about it.
Really?
There have been volumes written about the symbolism of the priestly garments, the 8 garments, the 4 garments, the ephod, the breastplate, the apron, the backward apron. So much has been written about it. to try to understand its deeper meaning. Throughout the millennia, beautiful thoughts have been expressed about the symbolism of the priestly garments, which should be taken to heart. It's serious business that should be taken to heart. But on some level, their meaning remains hidden. Like language, as much as they reveal, they conceal. As much as they reveal, they conceal. So this is meant to be studied at the Shabbat table, or I envisioned people bringing it to shul. That's why it's one little volume. So far, I've seen no one in shul with it, and I'm too embarrassed to carry it to shul. But that's the concept, and it's my
Excuse me, Avi.
so much of this comes from you. It comes from in the beginning of the forward in Breshit, I talk about my personal evolution in studying Chumash, but the Bayit is very much so much a part of that. We used to study Breshit. If we studied one or two words together, it was a lot per session. I remember sitting with your father, Reb Moshe.
Really?
Right? I always called your father Moshe. He really knew Tanakh, Arnie. He knew it. Studying with Judy, we studied Judy. There's a picture. One of my favorite pictures is I'm studying with you at Stern College. I don't know if you've ever seen that picture. You're sitting and I'm sitting near you and you're going through a test. This must go back almost 50 years. Almost 50 years ago. And when one learns, one wants to make sure one evolves. And the way I've evolved is to try to be a good listener. And everyone, when I think about I've been thinking what I'm going to write because I want to inscribe. Estelle, I've been thinking, what am I going to write for Estelle? It has to be something like, what I would write for you, Estelle, is I have to write this down now that I have it, my great challenger, who's become my teacher, my Rebbe, something like that. Or, I don't know, Tova ein milim, there are no words. Ellen, I'd have to think, Ellen, for me, you are a master of the human condition. You really connect life and all of your experiences of giving to the Torah. It's something just so beautiful. So I don't want to embarrass all of you, but you've had so much to do with the evolution of this work. And this book the truth is I started this book 4 years ago and I finished the first draft in 4 months. And it took me another 3.5 years to publish.
Just after COVID.
Because it wasn't ready and it needed a writing, it needed a rewriting, and it actually took too long. And as a matter of fact, I want you to know that I'm just, many people encouraged me. I did now a commentary on the Haggadah, and it's called Yehi Or, Let There Be Light. And it's dedicated to the soldiers of Israel, because on the day of the attack, that was the day in Israel of Simchat Torah, where we read, and there was darkness everywhere, and it was dark. And the Lord said, let there be light. God's first words in the Torah is let there be light, pushing away the darkness. Did I hear Tova, did you want to say something?
Yeah. It's very appropriate now to talk about the concealment of language, because we are up against it every single day when we hear the news. Because when the news tells us on the authority of the Gaza, whatever, the Gaza Authority, that Israelis have killed 29,000 Gazans. And that report is only concealing an anti-Semitic message. They don't say 29,000, 30% of which come from misfired rockets, that a certain percentage are militia, a certain percentage are the human shields. They don't say that. They say Israel has killed 29,000 people in Gaza. What are they saying? It's feeding anti-Semitism. It's language concealing the spread of anti-Semitism. So what you said for this week's Parsha, we live every single day today.
I thank you, Tova, for being our conscience. Thank you. I also, I don't think that we did some research. There's no book that has the word Torah and loving in the title. We're afraid to associate Judaism as being suffused with love. And my thinking on this is that Christianity has become so love-centered. They talk about love constantly, that we're afraid to talk about our Torah as being a Torah of love. And it is, but it is. And I think one of the messages is that we shouldn't be afraid to use the L word. And the L word is love. When we say love, we immediately think of some romantic relationship. No, that's not necessarily the complete use of the word love. Love has many, many meanings. And I think it's a word we have to use much more. Love, the love word says, I love you, I care about you, I wish the best for you. And in a world where there is so much hate, it's a beautiful word, and that's loving. Torah means loving is a verb. I love the Torah, but it's also an adjective. It's going backwards. The Torah is loving. And I think I've shared that with you. This is our Dina's.
Yeah, I think that's what you should say.
This is
Yeah.
Dina's
Beautiful.
cover. And the introduction, which is the best writing, was done by my son, Dove. And the epilogue, which talks about the Torah of Israel in this commentary, was done by our daughter Ilana, who lives in Israel with 9 children. And I said to her recently, her 6th is going into the army, into a fighting unit. I wish he wasn't. But he is. I said, Ilana, how do you feel? And she said, I feel the way everyone feels. This is what it is. This is our responsibility, and I'm very proud. So that's the way it is. So I'm ready to sign books.
Let's say goodbye to the people on Zoom,
Yeah,
and then maybe you'll sit over here.
I gotta tell you, the first time I was asked to sign a book, it was at you'll appreciate this. It was one of the books, and they asked me to sign. I didn't know what it's about. I signed Duke Snyder.
Signed what?
Duke Snyder.
Yeah.
The only time I was asked for an autograph, did I ever tell you that story? When we were arrested in Auschwitz, and I was really notorious. And it was a very tough arrest. We were protesting the content. It was very, very rough time. The 4 cops who arrested us, I swear to God, I had written an article in a paper, and they had the article. They said in broken English, could you sign your name? The 4 cops. So I signed my name in Hebrew. Am Yisrael Chai. Anyway, enough talking about I.
I'm gonna move you over there so it's easier. So I'm gonna.
Ruby, take care.
Oh, everyone is mute. Ruby's muted, and
Yeah, thank you.
Nova,
Thank you so much.
Estelle.
Just a pleasure to see you. Thank God you look very well.
Thank you. Thank you. Jean, it's good to see you on, my Jean. And I see Thea's on. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's great,
Good to
Thea.
see you.
How are you, Thea?
I'm doing well, thank God.
Good. Let's see, do I remember your phone number by heart?
Yes, I'm sure you do.
539-1905, am I right?
Exactly. Yes. Whoa.
They're gonna start talking. How many years is that? Oh my God.
A lot.
I don't know. I got a Rain Man memory, which is good and bad, you know. You gotta know
Thank you.
reveals and conceals memory. It's important to remember, but it's also important to know what to forget. Very, very important.
He also has a very good memory.
Sorry?
He has a great.
Bye, everybody on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Thank you
Love
so
you.
much for including us.
Bye.